Well, the heart of English civilization was hit by yet another terror attack today. A 29-year-old man rammed his vehicle into cyclists and pedestrians right in the center of London. People were injured, but thankfully nobody was killed. Meanwhile, in Sweden, at least 80 cars were torched in several cities in what the Prime Minister says were, quote, extremely organized attacks. No motives have been identified for either attack, officially anyway. Both England and Sweden are ancient civilizations, and for decades, violence like this was basically unheard of. Now, thanks to deliberate policy choices by those in power, that has changed radically. The question is, are we free to describe what is happening? Nigel Farage once led the UK Independence Party. He joins us tonight. Nigel, thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you.
So, it's not even worth, it seems to me, speculating about what happened here. We don't have all the facts. I don't want to get out on a limb. But here's what we do know, indisputably, that ancient societies in Europe, and indeed our society, far less ancient in the United States, are all becoming much more volatile and divided from within due to deliberate government policies over the course of decades. It seems like the people who made those policies are trying to prevent the rest of us from assessing those policies or complaining about them. Is that your read?
Well, you know, Sweden, I think, has just about the most restrictive press in the whole of the Western world. It is very difficult to get any objectivity from Swedish press, and certainly no criticism in mainstream Swedish media of government policy. Just to be clear, Sweden, a country of about 10 million people that has let in 600,000 asylum seekers in the course of the last 5 years. So pro rata, Sweden have let in more than any other country, and bear in mind that most of those that come, Tucker, are males under the age of 30 who come from a completely different culture, different attitudes towards women, for example, and Sweden has changed more than any other European country. And what is going on now in those cities is a disaster. The mass arson that has taken place, as the Prime Minister said, on a coordinated basis. Huge levels in the rise in sexual crime, for example. All of it caused by government policy. And I tell you, on the 9th of September, there is a Swedish general election, and what the networks will run is shock surprise as the far right does well in Sweden. Well, all of this has been caused by politicians.
What I guess I'm confused by is the lack of curiosity on the part of the left in the United States, the party of science, that you'd think would be interested in an empirical inquiry into the results of Swedish and European immigration policy. We're following the same course. Why wouldn't we be interested in the outcomes? But we're not. In fact, we punish anyone who's interested in the outcomes. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of part of the almost self-loathing that much of the West seems to have through its politicians, through its media. You know, we are to be kind and open-hearted and show the world what virtuous and wonderful people we are, even if we imperil our whole way of life. There can be no clearer, better example than Sweden, what has happened there in the last 5 years with opening up the door to large numbers of young men with different religion, different language, different culture. It has been a disaster. And actually, I'll be honest with you, I fear for the future of those Swedish cities. Now, if people want to keep their head in the sand over this, they can do so. But the evidence is that voters are acting on this. Brexit, the election of Trump, the Italian elections, voters have simply had enough of this and they are rebelling.
Yeah. That is, of course, the upside of democracy. You'd think American universities would have dispatched an army of social scientists to study this, since it's a handy case study for what awaits us, but they haven't. Nigel, great to see you.
Thank you.
Well, for decades, it has been assumed, it's been axiomatic, that everybody born on American soil is automatically an American citizen. They tell us it's in the Constitution. Is it in the Constitution? Is it a good idea? Could it be changed? Could the White House change it overnight? If so, should they? All of that next.